Hello lovely people, today I want to show you something about Native American beadwork, how it was done in the old times but also in the new times, especially by plain stripes like the Cheyenne, the Ute, also the southern plains tribes, Kiowas and Comanches. They all did the same stitch. It's called a lazy stitch in the old times, but today a lot of people don't like this term because lazy sounds a bit like lazy. And so most of the people prefer the term lane stitch, so beading in lanes, because to bead something like this has nothing to do with being lazy. So it's weeks and months of beadwork. So lazy stitch is a little bit the term not really good. So for the use of glass beads, normally in today's world, a lot of people take 11O beads at the special size. It's a size like this here, I used here. And the 11O beads were used mostly in on the plain stripes. These were used later than in the 1860s. It was a change from the old-time pony trader beads or pony beads to the modern times of beadwork. I show you some examples here. This is a pony trader bead, and you see here is a pipe X, and you see here is an 11O. That this is a reproduction of a pipe bag from the 1860s and later on until the 1910s. The similar pipe bags were done, and this is also nearly the same tribe from Cheyenne or maybe Arapaho. This is an 8O bead, and you see these classic bead colors from powder blue, black, white, and sometimes a pumpkin yellow was used. It's here, or a dark red white inside or red white inside. And in the early times from the 1840s and 1850s, on the plains, it's different that to the eastern tribes like the Iroquois, where these guys, the Iroquois people, started with glass beads in the early 1800s with very small sizes, like a 16O, and later on around the 1890s, when they produced a ton of tourist souvenirs for tourists to the Niagara Falls, they used the 8O beads. So they started small, went to the 8O, and on the plains they started with the 8O beads and went later on to this very small size of an 11O or 16O. So when you do designs, then it's difficult to do a later design with these 8O beads. This always looks awful. So it's better to take the extra step and to use the small beads to get the designs in a very good way, in a correct way, in a smooth way for your eyesight. So yeah, lane stitch. What you need is, I take a leather. I bead mostly on leather, but in modern times there's also beadwork done on felt, on a special fleece, for example. That's on many ways, on fabric. So some people bead on canvas. It depends on what you plan to do, and if you want to do an old-time item or if you plan to do a powwow item, because mostly these capes here, when they are done for powwow, it's better to do them on canvas instead of leather, because it's a weight thing on one hand, and on the other hand leather sometimes stretches, and you have an easier way of beadwork doing this on canvas, going through with your needle and so on. It's sometimes easier, but in historic times this beadwork was done on leather. So I here use a German tanned leather that looks similar to a native tanned leather, but brain tanned leather, but the difference is in the tanning method that this leather is cut down on the surface, different than the handmade leather. So in historic times, you need a needle and you need also thread, scissor, beading needles. You have to look for the size. This is an O12, that's for 12O beads or larger. So you have to look for that you have the correct size of needles for your beadwork. Then you need beads. I have for showing you, I have used here crow beads. Oops. Normally you would not use crow beads. You would use way smaller sized beads, but it's better to show you just the technique. The technique is not very impressive, but it's better to show you, and you can do it too. So then in the old times, the people went not through the leather with the beadwork, but they just used their needle and went just like this, you know. It's not going through the leather. You would not see something on the back. With a German tan leather, because it's scraped down, or how should I call it? This surface is taken down in a very special way, so all the grains are standing like this, upright, like a velvet. And when you go like just like this with your needle, then it simply will pop out. You have here for this dress here, you will see what happens later on. All these little strands are popping out when it's used, for example, because all these grains like a velvet, and you can't push a needle through velvet. That's like this. You have to go through the fabric. So what I'm doing, this is why I'm going through the leather, because I use here German tan leather, and this is a special. It has to do with the tanning method. So what I do here is with my needle, I go through. I have a knot on the other side here on the back, and go through the leather. So, yeah, I use as a way to bead along, I use this corner here, but as I know a lot of people, I have seen a lot that people are just take a pencil and mark all the lanes. So I don't do it. You see it here. I will never do this. Or you see it here, within this rosette. What I normally do is I start in the middle. I break it, break the strip, and do the middle. Do a mark on the middle. Just then break from this point to this point, and then you have here also a lane in the middle. So I start with the design here. This is the point of the mark where I put my pencil on. So normally, then what I do normally, I would start here, but I did not do this in this case because I was away, and I started with the bright white because that I could bead on, and later start here to bead the center here. So that's like that. That's a blanket strip, also Lakota, Dakota, Cheyenne style from the 1890s, because we want to make a movie. I'm hiring out movie props, for example, and that's why I'm doing the beadwork. And we plan to do a movie with Buffalo Bill native people, so from the Buffalo Bill time, and so I need the stuff for Buffalo Bill. And this is a ton of stuff, so that's why I'm beading these blanket strips, because it was very common for men to wear a blanket with a blanket strip. So, yeah, then sometimes when I have a lane to get an orientation, like this corner here, I don't do paint on the lanes. I know that people are doing it, but I personally don't like it because you see it later. And it's also, I mostly use a very fine liner ink pen and not a ball pen, because a ball pen, you see that it's a modern made item, and you see it on a red, for example. Because what's cool thing is also to take a yellow, and the yellow is not so much so bright for your eyes. You will see it later on. So that's why I personally try to get away with it, and just because the lanes will come when you start beading. You see the lanes later on without even marking them. But it's my thing. So then I use beads. I take here crow beads. I normally would not do this stitch with crow beads, so I take here 4 beads just to show you. Yeah, so I have these here. I take them down, so then go through it. It's a very stiff leather, so I have to be careful not to break my needle, but it's just show effect. So you see, first step done. Now I take from where I went through the leather, the gap in between is 1 bead. I go through the leather again. When you have these crinkles with your thread, I here use a polyester thread, but you can use, in old times they used animal sinew, broken down and turned. So, but I use a polyester thread, mostly 4 times, go through the beads, but here's it's a show effect. So now again I count my 4 beads. Normally for 11 beads I would use 8 beads mostly on make a row with it. But you have to try it, and when you make a counting design within your lane, then sometimes it's you should take 9 beads, because you start counting 1 bead in the middle and you make something like an arrow or so, or triangle, so you need 1 bead in the middle. So you see here now one bead gap going through the leather. And don't be afraid when your lanes are not as perfect as my ones at first. You have to train it a bit. It's nothing that falls from the moon, but I'm doing beadwork since 30 years, so it needs a bit. And start with a small item, like a medicine bag or whatever, where you just have a small or a little bag, because it needs time. As I said, it's not lazy. It's a long period of time you need. So when I now want, because you see here, this is a Cheyenne 1840s, 1850s style bag. Here you see that it's done with just simply counting a different color over the whole lane. But when I now want to make a design inside, I simply count this out. So here, for example, I take 2 yellow beads inside, and these very fine counted lanes are mostly done on the southern plains. The northern plains mostly do very colorful, very large designs, but on the southern plains that's sometimes just 1 lane of beadwork, but very fine counted with very intricate designs. So it's a different way of doing this, of interpretation of beadwork from northern to the southern plains, and that's different, and you have to decide what you're doing and what tribal items you want to make. So it's different, and you have to look for what tribal items are done and how they are done. So, and learn from your elders when you have the chance to do so, or go to museums or books, whatever, to learn what styles, what beadwork styles, what not just how it's done, but the designs are very specific to the tribal people. So a Cheyenne design or a Sioux design, a Lakota, Dakota design, you will see the difference when you learn it. It needs a little bit. And when you're doing research on Pinterest, for example, don't just, you have to know what designs you see. The descriptions mostly don't work because stupid people write everything. For them, is everything is Cherokee. And it does not matter the time period where the items were made or even the tribal affiliation, but because they like it, they write everywhere Cherokee on it. It's a stupid people, but it's like that. So it's better to learn, for example, from museum sites, from your local museum, from your family when you're Native American. So to go to a museum is way better, or from museum sites, because there the descriptions are way better. The tribal affiliations for the items are way better than, for example, in Pinterest. Pinterest is okay when you know what you're seeing, when you know the differences. So, but now again to the item. So, when this yarn as the thread is crinkling, then you can use beeswax and just put your string through beeswax, and then it's a bit stiffer and it does not crinkle anymore. So it's way easier to work with the thread. So, and don't be afraid that your lane is your starting lane, your bead is not as straight as maybe my one, because you have to train it. It's training. You need some years and some items you're doing until it's a perfect lane, you know. So okay, I cannot count a lot of designs here, because just with 4 beads it's not really, there are not so many designs possible, but just to show you. So okay, you will see a lane, and the next lane I would simply bead with another 4 beads and would start here on this, for example. So later on, when you are your thread's coming too short, you just do some stitches in the back. It's not just cutting it off. You have to sew down the end of your thread, that it keeps in place. It's not unravel. So I normally go as far as I can with the thread, for example, but it's up to you. You have to try it and how it's best for you. So now I can cut off my needle and everything is fixed. So as I said, some tribal people just are counting within the lanes. Moment. This is also Lakota, Dakota, the original for it. So, but just to show you, you have one lane. This is also very much done with tribal people from the Kiowa Comanche nations. And then the leather is colored with an earth paint, pigments. This is one way, but how it's done historically. Although when this is here Lakota, Dakota, West was original. It was a child vest. So, but so, when you do larger objects like from the northern plains or central plains from North Dakota, South Dakota, Lakota, Dakota, for example, this is the vest I did, and it's a reproduction or inspired item, Buffalo Bill time, because we want to make a movie for about this period. And so what I do here is I normally start with the corner with this lane surrounding everything. Then I do my designs. It's like painting per number, just simply. What I normally do is also to start in the larger areas and go to the smaller stuff, because when you have the lanes, you don't have to mark your lanes. It comes while you're beading. You will see later on, if it's always 8 beads, it's just a lane without even doing your pencil or whatever around. So then when everything is beaded from the designs, then I start normally on the other side here. This is the first lane that's done even before the designs, and then I start with the next lane here with the white design for the white ground or colorful ground. I start here just simply to get running in straight lines. I start first lane, second lane, third lane, and just going on and on and on until I'm finished it here. The good thing is that I will stay in lanes, in straight lanes, and not just like this or that. Yeah, and because I beaded this here on Germantown leather, and you would see the stringing on the back, what you won't see on historical pieces, because the people would not go through the leather with brain tanned leather, but they would just put the needle like this and not through it. Because of this, I normally make a lining of calico, it was called in the back in the day. It's a cotton fabric with a design, Victorian design. So that's how I do large items, and it doesn't matter if it's a dress or whatever. So as I said, look for the inspirations, look for this design. This is an 11/0 design, and the background is a 10/0 bead size. When you would do it in an 8/0, it would not look as fine as this design would look here now. So you can't do designs, fine designs from the 1860s and later with the beads with an 8/0 or whatever larger size bead. It would not look good. So yeah, that's how it goes. And here I have a modern item. This is also lane stitch, and it looks totally different. It's a headband for a fancy shawl outfit, and with rhinestones inside. So this is also possible. So you have I went here with the lanes with not a straight line but with curved lines. So yeah, I hope it was a little bit interesting, and when you have some questions, just please post them in the comments. I hope I could help some people to do items, to explore maybe their heritage. I hope so. I cannot talk you what you have to do. You have to go to your elders, but I have a lot of people that are asking me, native people, because they lost their heritage, because some of their elders in their family did not keep on with that tradition. So they want to be reconnected, and sometimes people ask me. So this is why I'm doing these videos, and also as translation for my German channel. So I hope I could help you a bit how it was done, and explain a little bit background. So I hope it is a little bit interesting, and I hope that a lot of people start crafting and start to bead because these items are a little bit like your kids, yeah, like your child's and children, and it gives you so much interest and so much deep understanding of traditional dresses, plains Indian dresses, and whatever, to understand. For example, this is also why I'm doing these videos, because I want to show the people that, especially for film, because I'm hiring company for movie props and for movie costumes, that it's not just a bit of leather and some fringes. It's to understand the true meanings of these items, that why they are so valued by these indigenous groups. And I want to, it's a way of learning respect through beads, through each single bead, because it's such a long time consumption way process of making items. And through it, through all these tears, these, don't look at my hands, all the stitches that you go through your fingers, you learn a lot of way of respect for, and of also valuation of another culture. So that's why I'm doing this as a non-native person. So I hope you learned something new today, and I hope I could explain it a little bit what I'm doing here. So keep on crafting.